Oh no, all the buttons. Yeah. I found all the buttons. It's like I don't know which one of these buttons has the black going for it. Was it on Restream or was it on OBS? No clue. Hello, my fellow travelers on Spaceship Earth. It is I, and I am Guy. I'm coming to you live from Applewood Station, where it's 17 degrees. And I'm opening that window up a little more. Get some of that cool air in. Hey, Yap, how you doing, bro? And I have homework. But at least this homework is somewhat interesting, so I'm going to actually switch. That's not the one I want. Oh, it is the one I want, but I want this guy first. There we go. Oh, yeah, I'm totally going to add you. I'm going to add you to my block list. Add to Restream's block list. Kablam! All right. I'm going to go way off my... All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, my friend. In a weird... Hey, Sarge, how you doing, man? How are things out in your neck of the woods? It is indeed Japanese homework. Colorful in the Black Forest tonight. So you hanging out in the Black Forest, huh? Just gonna say, that wasn't where you moved to. I love this character. It's one of my favorites. You don't put the... It's Yokotate. Yokotate. So I did this assignment and she said, you can't type it in. You have to handwrite it. And I guess part of it is she's after my handwriting. See how I'm writing. But I'm just sitting here going, but okay, well, okay. Oh, you're at your son's house. There you go. Well, that's good. To omotte imasu. To omotte imasu. So here we are. Except that's not the way this works. I love when we get the sheep in here at the same time. Just saying. It's a funnier joke if you understand the characters. If you guys are ever wondering, there's Sensei right there. So as in teacher. Asking a question. Leaving for home. Post pics. Post pics. Pics or it didn't happen. You're gonna drive home tonight, Sarge? It's 9:30. Well, I guess you're already way south, so it's only gonna take you about an hour to get home. That's not so bad. Drive safely though. You got some run up time ahead of you there. Yeah. No. Ona no hito wa. That woman over there. Onaji. It's 4:37, huh? Where are you, yeah? It's 12:30 in Japan, and it's 4:30 a.m. in the UK. So wherever you are, you're on the exact opposite side of the UK. No. There we go. At least, what is my problem? Crasumito. All right, well, that's pretty straightforward. Man, they really want me writing all these classroom terms. That's totally fine. That's what we're here for, my friend. And if it's a secret, I won't keep trying to find it. Because I respect that. As long as you're nowhere near Hurricane Milton, that's all I'm really worried about at this point in time. Me. Talk some. No. Man, I suck at this tonight. Talk some. All right. What do we got here? Chichira. Such a weird character because you can't complete the bottom of the box until you've written the arrow inside. Oh, good. This one I just hate. It's just such a silly kanji, I swear. What you studying? If you're studying English, I'm not doing very good helping you. There we go. I go here and do this and that. And then go like that. And then go like that. Social studies. Boring, huh? Boring, Kana. I guess one could argue that that's kind of my career choice. There we go. Some English is so much better. Your English is pretty solid, so that makes sense. As somebody who taught English, anybody who practices English and manages to make it work is always amazing to me. All right. That includes people who were born here. All right. Chapter 2. 1-2. Yes. I like social studies. Just, I actually like, I don't know why I'm saying that. All right. Now let's open this up. argument was that my teacher's argument was that I had to have handwritten this. Okay, well, no problem. We now have this, which is all handwritten. So we'll put that in instead. There we go. Then I can submit that. Right, let's double check it to make sure it did what it was supposed to do. Because wouldn't that be embarrassing to turn it back in again and have her go, you know, actually no, this is actually my large IBM PC. Big box and everything. This is my monitor tablet that I have here, which is an XP Pen 22E with a stylus. So what I do is I can use my stylus on the control here, and it's a big monitor. It's a 22-inch monitor, so it's like drawing on my screen. But I really love this monitor because it's not a touch screen, and that is hard to get these days. Everything's a touch screen now. And so, and the problem is when I draw, I have a tendency to draw and then lift up and then draw and then lift up. And when I do, I'll end up drawing and then lifting up, and then it'll go, oh, you've touched right here. And then it clicks stuff and selects things. And so I have to wear a glove then to whenever I'm drawing. And I'm like, well, if I'm wearing a glove while drawing, what's the point? You know, what has helped me here? And I know that part of it is that people like to draw and then pinch and then, you know, slide and then draw and then slide. And I'm just old enough that that's not easy for me. It's not hard, just not easy, you know. But yeah, this is my big PC. And I say that because it actually extends out across over this desk here. And it goes a long ways that way because it's got controls on cameras over there too. So that you can watch me if I work on my workstation down there. I also have a second camera, which looks in this little section right here. I've got a mixer right here with a microphone. You can see the microphone right here. Yep. Which, of course, is not how that has happened with me, but that's... I just try. Let's do that. There we go. So, that hasn't been the way that it's naturally happened with me, really. Which is fine. I actually think I'm going to start a different YouTube channel at some point here soon, because I want to talk about I want to talk about more problems with culture and society. Which I think is really cool. So, So you mean with the show? We've been doing drawing for a long time on the show. So we go back quite a few. Let's see if that worked. There we go. These kanji sheets are 48 points. Considering that all the quizzes are like 8 points. I need to make sure I keep the kanji quizzes going. I will. But I was thinking about a couple more things. Like, for one, I am what's known as a neurodivergent. That means that I have autistic spectrum disorder, ASD, or ADD, or ADHD, or any one of those names. They're all kind of the same thing, just depending on where you are on it. And I've been in school learning about cultural anthropology. Cultural anthropology is the study of human culture, which is why I'm learning Japanese and all kinds of other things. I'm actually not learning Japanese. I used to speak Japanese just fine, but then I spent 15 years not talking at all to anybody in Japanese, and so I lost my Japanese. So now I'm back in school, redoing it, which is fine. And so what I want to do is, there are a lot of things, like very stressful situations in the world, where from a cultural anthropology point of view, the topic is completely different. Like, the problem is completely different. Political topics and things like that, I want to talk about it because I want people to think about some of the other pieces of it. I'm not trying to convince anybody to, go one direction or the other, but sometimes it's very clear to me why we can never fix this problem. It'll never be fixed. And, people have their opinions of why it'll never be fixed. But then I look at it from a cultural anthropology view and I'm like, oh, well, nobody has said this, but this is the core piece of the problem. And since nobody's talking about it, nobody is paying attention to it, I would assume. And thus, you're not fixing it. Nobody can fix it. But every time I bring them up on this stream, it makes people angry and mad because they think I am going one direction or another. Like, they think I am talking about the politics of the system, of the situation. And so it makes people very upset. So I try not to, I don't want to do it here because I don't want to mess up this world. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get into politics here and then have people get all mad about it. Rightfully so. All right, let's see. Did she put... I'll play it, but I'm actually kind of pretty good at this because I'm a cultural anthropologist. So is that okay? I'm willing to play any game. I love games. There we go. She is quick at this stuff, isn't she? But yes, go on ahead and play the game if you're okay with that. I love games. All right. Not a verb. Kate Shepherd. Oh wait, I want to so badly say Canadian because I think I'm funny, but that didn't give you away though, so you're good there. So you're still good. You're still safe. You haven't given it away yet. Although I'm trying to hear her voice in my head. Oh, I can hear her voice in my head. Yeah, I can hear her voice in my head. I think I know. Do you want to give me another clue? You could also just mention Hobbiton. See, that gave it all away. So, I had once heard a friend tell me that you can, anytime you hear that particular accent, there's like, it's the same thing as Canadians and Americans. The Canadian and the American accent, if you hear the accent, you always ask if they are Canadian. Because Americans don't get offended if you misunderstand them as Canadians. But Canadians get really bent out of shape if you say, "Are you an American?" It's the same kind of thing with New Zealanders and Australians and the accent they're in. Because there are subtle differences, but you have to really be tuned in to hear the differences between those two accents. They're really dialed in. Someday I want to go there just to visit Hobbiton, because that's just such a cool place. The fact that it actually exists is so cool. But that means you guys are going into spring, though. You looking to warm up? Looking forward to warming up there? Okay, what did she decide? Hatsumete. Oh, I guess you're right. Junbi is not, in fact, a verb. Here, let me show you my, well, I guess I probably shouldn't show you my, my work at this point because I've got to do homework. So I'm gonna, because her name is on it, the teacher's name is on it, and I don't think I should broadcast that. So I won't be broadcasting my homework. So, one of the interesting things that I always find fascinating when dealing with other English speaking countries is like language, not language necessarily like how language moves and shifts, because I think it's always fascinating how our language moves and changes. But I like the cultural pieces of the language. You know, words that are appropriate in one language or one country but not appropriate in another, um, which always fascinates me. Especially since I love the fact that, like, Queen's English has a lot more vowels in it than American English. And I find that interesting, like color, Color, which of course the U is taken out for US English. I always find that fascinating as well. Not for any other reason other than that's part of the anthropology of humans, right? That's how we maneuver. But the other thing I think is interesting is how many people can mimic other accents. You know, there is a streamer that I follow, and she's Scottish, and her page, her channel is about Scottish language. So she teaches you a word every day in Scots, and puts it in context and everything like that, and usually talks about. But every so often she gets these people who join her stream, and they say, your Scottish accent sounds so fake. Well, she's actually Scottish, so she doesn't have a fake Scottish accent. She has an actual Scottish accent. But then she will immediately break into American English, and she is remarkably good at it. Like, her American accent is solid. Like, if she showed up here, I'd be hard pressed to tell she wasn't from America, And it's I find that particularly funny. And not funny. I guess funny is not the right word. I find that interesting, because I'm not really that good with accents outside of America. Not simply because it's never been an interest of mine. I'm sure if I practiced it enough. Are you, Micah? I'm just saying. So, anyway, it's just interesting. Cultures, things like that. And then there are really interesting subtle accents in America that I find fascinating. Not just the obvious Southern accent and, New York accent and stuff like that. I have what they call the Coloradan accent, and it's because I'm in Colorado. But we flatten out that A, Colorado. That A gets all flattened out. Because a lot of people will, even here in America, they call my state, they call it Colorado with that higher A. And you can always tell if you're from here because we flatten that A out. It becomes Colorado. Which we find fascinating. That's how you can always tell when they're not from this part of the country. When you're not from around here. I draw comics. I'm not drawing comics right now because homework. But normally I draw comics. Actually, you know what? I'll take a quick break here because this is just going to take me forever. And I'll bring up my drawing controls, and I will show you some of my comic work. 20 minutes from now when everything loads. There we go. I'll open up my comic. Give me just a second. It takes me some time here. Yeah, it's getting all mad now. All right. Give me a second. It'll load. There we go. And this is my comic. I drew. It actually exists now in the real world, which is kind of cool. But I'm a manga style artist, which means that my comics are done in black and white. Oh man, it's been 2 years. I really need to do the other two. My comics are in black and white, and so see you in a second. Yep. Why? Thank you. Thank you. I like the next page after this one's one of my favorites because I love this. Well, I mean, this is my hero ship. I like that, just coming out of warp speed there. It's all staticky and electrically charged. The program I'm using is Clip Studio Paint. And I didn't do anything. One of the things I love about Clip Studio Paint is the ability to see the entire comic all as one unit. So you can see every page here, all the individual pages. Yeah, digital is difficult, and it is definitely a learning process. So I wouldn't feel bad. It takes time, and I'm using an XP Pen 22E, which is my drawing monitor, which has, a stylus to it. So that's what I use to draw on this, and that took some time. I still even feel like my digital pages are not as good. I don't feel like they're as good as the non-digital pages. Feel like I still get a little bit better control, and it's a little bit cleaner. Not cleaner. Actually, quite the opposite, maybe. Maybe I feel like it's a little messier when I use you can, but you'd have to go to, because there's no way to do it on here. You're on Twitch, so your sketches won't come up on here, and I don't know if you can even put things up on Twitch. Can you do that? I mean, can you do that? No, you can do that. Let's see. I do have a Discord, and we even have a spot of which you can put your stuff into the Discord. Let me give you the Discord channel, because we've got a place for it. Hey, Snooter was here. Here, let me Let me click the wrong button. Here, I'll put it into the tabs. Hang on. There we go. Join the Discord. You and Can would get along very well. So there are two artists that actually travel on here. Hello. I'll wave at you. Look at me waving at you. Wait, I just gave myself. Don't do that. Do that. That's what I was looking for. Clicking the wrong button. Yeah. Can does that too. And recently, Can's been slowing down quite a bit intentionally. And his work has been improving immensely. Like the things he's been getting out of there are just incredible because he's been slowing down quite a bit. So that's, I mean, I do what you need to do. For me, I can't go too slow or I lose focus. And so I have to kind of go at the speed that I go. Hey, book reader. There's also a book reader here. I'll wave. You sent a bunch of pictures up here. Did you put it in the duck pond? I'm not seeing it just yet. Not sure why I'm not seeing it. Oh, the art share thing. So cattails. I'm waiting for it to come up. I'm just not seeing it here. Out in the cattails. No, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Please be my guest. I'm okay with that. But remember that if you you want to use this one if you're talking about me, and then the other one that's at Can, Cayen, that's my co-partner here, and we co-stream. So just make sure that if you're on Can's stream, you're kind of piping up on Can, and if you're on my stream, you're talking about me. So let me put something in the moderator channel. More apps. Okay. But that didn't help me any. Why am I not seeing you in the... I want to see you in the drawing side. I don't see you in the drawing side. Oh, there we go. There we go. That works. Oh, I like that samurai one. That samurai one is good. It even says samurai. I dig it. Yeah, that complete page there that you have there, that That shows that you have been bitten by the drawing bug. I'm so sorry. It is a terminal thing. I'm sorry to tell you this, Micah, but you are an artist. I'm so sorry. Some of this stuff is really, really good. It's a nice piece. Some good pieces here. Solid stuff. I like that black noir. I like the fact that you did the black noir and black and white. That's really nice. That's solid. And good old Spidey. That one too. Excellent work. Excellent work. I wonder why we couldn't post in the art share. That's weird. Because it's okay to put it here in the depth pond. That's totally fine. Just not what it was designed for. I'm just not sure why it's not working in the art share. That's such a strange thing for it to not do. It's back to the what broke. You have a lot of different styles in here too. It just takes time for them to get here. Yep, there they are. And video. Yep, Comic-E is good. The realism, that's good. I like that piece too. It's the Batman. Okay, so I totally have been seeing people 3D printing little teeny bat masks for their cat. And now all of a sudden I kind of want a bat mask for my cat. And I'm not 100% sure my cat's ready to be dealing with that, but like I've been seeing it and thinking my cat needs a bat mask. Yeah, the noir mask might actually like make my cat mad, but like the bat mask, I can just imagine. I mean, because he's already an all black cat, so the black bat mask might be really cool, you know. But he's also slightly goofy, and so goodness knows what he'd do. But I think it'd be funny. I think he'd really have fun. Hey, Jan. How you doing? Good to see you guys out here. Yeah, but he does the, in the video he goes meow, meow, and then he sticks it on the cat, and then goes meow, 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 meow. And I just get such a kick out of that. I think that'd be funny. I think it'd be awesome. I still have blue hair, although it is starting to go away. Which is fine, because I have to head to Japan in December. And I'm going to be meeting with some of my old Japanese buddies that are from my dojo. And they're pretty conservative. So Kind of Peppy the Frog with blue hoodie. Oh, you mean you're the? Yeah, I see him. He's pretty funny. I am a Super Saiyan Blue. Although my hair's not high enough. It needs to be like up like that, and then it'd be cool. I think that'd be awesome. So, for those of you who have Netflix, and I'm not sure what part of the world has it yet or not, but Netflix is redoing Ranma One Half, which is one of my very first ever anime, and I love that one. It's one of my favorites. Highly recommend watching it if you can, if you're interested. If you're interested, no requirement there. Meow, 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 meow. So. This here. Go back up a step. Wonder if let's see. Yes, I wonder if I can start working on the they on the ship they all have the ability to be in this hot spring in the center of the ship. So now I'm kind of like, well, what if we were to because I feel like that's something that I could keep just drawing in and it wouldn't be as big of a problem. All right, so the section in question is this section right through here. It doesn't have its grid on, so it's kind of hard to see where everything is on this, but it might be kind of cool to just go on ahead and see whether I could make. So the problem is that it's got all these rocks around it. They're artificial rocks, but making a 3D zone of that is difficult. Right? So like this whole section right here needs to be kind of constructed at some point in time. Some officer has his quarters right here and can just like do right into the pool. Just like drop right in. Bloom. Splish. Maybe what this is less rock, like jagged rock, and more like just a wall that's shaped like this. And it wouldn't be sharp because you want people to get into the pool and just lean up against it. So you don't want it to be sharp. In fact, you kind of want it to be a little smooth. So maybe what we'll do is, because this deck is huge, so I'll flatten it down. And then we'll take and just copy just this section right through here to this point. And maybe to the end. Yeah, I feel like this should be to the end of here. So really we only need to this section to the back of the batteries. Back to the battery points. So I'll add over here. All the way out to there, because that's where the end of that stage is. Copy. Create new. Won't matter. Except that it takes forever for it to think it through. Paste. We'll increase its size. We'll be very careful not to change the value of it. All right. All right. Now each square represents 1 meter square. So we got 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 32 meters that way. That's 21, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 29. So it's not quite square, which makes it a little bit rougher than I want it to be, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that back in, and then we're going to do a weird trick. Watch this. Take this guy, I'm going to duplicate the layer, and then I'm going to take this top layer right here, and we're going to rotate him 90 degrees, not the canvas. And take, what was I doing? Where was I going? Everything's in a different place, so oh, that's right. We don't need to worry about that. We just take this guy right here and then say U, and then hold the shift key down, and it gives me the ability to do 90. There we go. And then once we've done that, we have this guy here, and he's not what I expected to see. For one, they don't align. Look at that. That's weird. Would not have expected that. But they aren't the same. Right? If I align this with let's say this and that, they don't align. That's a weird problem. Hey, Ray. Not what I expected to find out tonight. Thank you. Later on, it'll be dyed some other color. But for now, it's just blue. So I'm curious as to what has gone south here. 40 by 40. And that should be a square, but it isn't. Well, it looks like that was just an error in resizing. That's probably what it was. I think I resized it and made it weird. So I'll duplicate it, take you, rotate, and we should end up. Nope, it isn't. Look at that. They don't line up. Not the way this should be going. In fact, you might be working on a movie. That's cool. What would be your job on the movie? Can't tell if and keeping all of Bellatrix Rising up is just confusing the heck out of it. Assistant? Well, there are a lot of assistants, so but I guess if you're just working on a small movie, there may not be a lot of people. If it's small enough, though, and you end up doing gaffer and all of those jobs at the same time, and that's kind of cool. All right. It's big. All right. I'm going to work on this guy. This is the guy I'm worried about all of a sudden. Because he doesn't look like he's doing his job. That's fair. Totally fair. I'd go for that too. Still, congratulations. That's awesome. All right, I'm concerned This guy's not square anymore. Okay, so the squares are in fact 10 by 10. You made a video. That's totally fine. I feel like we all spend most of our days tired nowadays. Okay. See, now I'm kind of wondering. I am trying to fix this problem. I think it's a problem. It's a problem. Why is this a problem? Okay. Yeah. It is wider than it is. Oh, if you're trying to put the link in here, it won't. Well, it depends on which channel you're on. Are you on Cans or are you on GS Davis Arts? Because Cans got a bot that prevents you from posting. Although you're on YouTube, so that shouldn't be a problem. Although Can may have a block on his YouTube. So if you're on Can's YouTube, it may not actually work. Yeah, Ray, to your statement, I agree. There seems like there are times where just the world just runs without you. And you're like, why are you people doing it? Yep. Yep, you can put it out on the... Oh, you don't have a Discord account? Totally reasonable. Are you... should post on YouTube. Unless YouTube doesn't want you to post it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes YouTube doesn't want you to post stuff and things like that. Did I silence this channel? No, this channel is not silenced. I am trying to figure out whether this is endemic or an actual problem. Like, is this a copy problem or is this a... I'm not 100% sure. Nope, the grid is not correct. That's weird. Oh, yeah. Well, wish us luck because we're about to hit the election season to end all election seasons. Oh, my goodness. I don't think anybody can see it. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, we have all of them, but they're all at the same time. So every 2 years we'll have regionals, and then every 4 years we have national stuff too. But usually it's all clumped together. So yeah, I'm not seeing your link in here. Yep. I'm seeing you. Yeah, that's the same with us. It's just that, like, on November, it's always November 4th. It's got to be and I can't remember what it is. They always call it Super Tuesday. And it's one of those things that, people are like, if we were serious about our democracy moments, because, like, we keep saying, nobody's serious about our democracy because they put election day on a Tuesday. You know, everybody's working. So why would you do that? It doesn't even make sense. But, here we are. At least, though, I know that Yap is in my channel, which doesn't have restrictions. So I'm not sure why your links aren't going through. No, that's back to the why people are like, are you serious about democracy here in America? Because you don't seem like it. Yeah, because we don't get the day off. We don't get it is what it is, and hope for the best. And it's so weird too. At least I know that this problem is endemic on both sides, so I should go back here and fix it over here. I mean, obviously, we really are serious about our elections. It's just interesting that it doesn't seem like we are, because it seems like we make it so that it's weirdly difficult to go to elections. It's weirdly difficult to attend it. Yeah, well, there's that. And hello, Heathcliff. So as a cultural anthropologist, these things fascinate me. Like, why don't we have this stuff? Why are we making this complicated? It is interesting to me. And I mean, a lot of it is just, especially stuff like that. Super Tuesday was set up originally with the founding fathers, and things that happened from the very beginning of our country are hard to maneuver. They're hard to get people to change. And so it's difficult to get people to change those pieces. Not impossible, just difficult, And we'll get there. Got a dog. The dog is very, very specifically annoyed by something. I don't need these. I don't know why I did this. I don't need those. We're going to put this against the wall so that I don't have to fight it. And this way we can just take this guy and move him up against the wall too. We'll move him into place. And when we do, they'll both be aligned up here. And then all I got to do is just straighten this out so that they stop being weird. Well, And there's a lot of, this is one of those areas where you have to you have to choose your words carefully. I am sure that there are people out there that do like the idea of the vote being difficult to do, like to make this vote difficult. And I'm sure that there are people whom that's their motivation. But in my experience, the majority of the people out there really actually just want things to be simpler and easier. And I tend to believe that it was set up to be a Tuesday back in the days in 1776 and the very, very early 1800s, because at that time, the only people who could vote were not the working class. And so they weren't working on Tuesday anyway. The people who were voting were rich, and so they didn't have to worry about it. As time went on, we've had different varying degrees of presidencies that have said, hey, you can't do that. Obviously we had, we liberated the slaves, and we've included women in the votes and things like that. There's been a lot of change in our society as to who is voting. And it took until the mid 1900s for us to finally get to the point where everybody could vote. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter what your color of your skin was, or it didn't matter. And the problem is that the vote itself is still set on a Tuesday. And the machine, if you will, of how they count the votes and how the votes are put through the system now is all set up for that Super Tuesday. And so it could still be that it's because people want it to be harder to vote, but the system is actually now all messed up and hard for everybody. So it's like, it's not easy for anybody. It's not easy for people to vote. It's not easy for any of that stuff. But I mean, that's actually very illegal in the United States. So, in fact, you're not allowed to be within 100 feet of a voting or polling area unless you are voting. And so I think it may even be 100 yards. No, it's 100 feet. You're not allowed to be within 100 feet. So about 33 meters. You're not allowed to be within 33 meters of a polling location unless you're voting. And the police are very serious about that. So again, not to say that there isn't that, but I am usually a little leery of stories like that, because you'll get that in one place. But there's 300 million people. So if 4 people got intimidated, that didn't really change the vote much. It did ruin 4 people's day, and we should do something about that, certainly. But it's illegal to tamper with the vote. But back to what I was kind of saying at the beginning of this, the thing about Tuesday is that nowadays they've even changed stuff. Like, I know that our polling stations here now stay open until 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. So you've got from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to get to the voting place. But now some states, Colorado is one of them, you can mail in the vote. So I will get my ballot in the mail here in the next few days, and I'll just fill it out and mail it back in, and I don't have to worry about it. And so I don't like to do that personally. I mean, I won't mail it back in because I don't like the idea of it getting lost in the mail, but what I will do is they will mail me the ballot. I'll fill out the ballot, put it back in the envelope, and then take it over to the library and drop it off in the ballot box, which sits in front of the ballot, in front of the library. Which means that we actually, especially like in some states like Colorado, you don't have to wait until November 4th. So you can just turn your vote in right away. So, and that's exactly what I will do. So I don't have to forget, because I'm terrified I'll forget. I don't want to forget. So, but that's another one of those things where it's like the systems are complicated and weird and should be fixed. But people are making structures around it that make it easier. You know what I mean? So that's the way that kind of goes. So I hope that made some sense. I had somebody asking me about Venezuelan gangs in Aurora. I was like, oh, okay. One of the things that I have been studying is propaganda. And there's a lot of propaganda. So, like, you get our political left and our political right have been putting out a lot of propaganda prior to the vote because they really want people to vote. So I am naturally suspicious of anything that sounds propaganda-y, especially since a lot of the propaganda involving things that I do every day are not true. Yeah, our schools are also voting stations sometimes too, but our libraries make better voting stations. So in Colorado, that's not true everywhere. That's just the way that this state works. And that's just because Colorado has we're better about protecting our vote and stuff like that. So we're better at doing those things. So I mean, like, there's all kinds of stuff that Colorado does that other states don't do. You can, once you've cast your vote, you can actually go and check online to see if your vote was counted. So I can keep tracking it. It's illegal and actually not safe in a democracy. Military recruiting centers, yeah. It's actually not safe in a democracy for you to know what you voted for. That's one of the problems that we're having with ID check. Our political right wants to check IDs for voter fraud. And the problem with it, of course, is that once you know what people vote for, you can intimidate people. And so you don't want anybody to ever know who you voted for. That has to be a secret. So all we can do is send you a ballot and know that you turned it in or did not turn it in. And that's it. And we're not allowed legally to see anything beyond that. So, and the concern that we usually have is if you can connect one-to-one, that's a thing. Right? Because then you know who I voted for, and you can intimidate me if you wanted to, once you learn who I voted for. So we're not allowed to do that. There's not allowed legally to be. Yeah. But in this instance, there's a lot of it. Like, but there are a couple of things. One, our government is required to publish everything it does. And so you can always fact check the government, which is always a funny thing because people keep saying you can't fact check the government, and you actually can. So but yeah, and everything is propaganda, and I'll agree with that. But sometimes we have a couple of numbers fallacies, you know, like the immigration problem that we have here is people conflating two different terms, and in doing so they mess up what's actually happening, and it makes it sound worse, because we are either taking in refugees, which is the refugees coming in from Central America have exceeded our yearly allotment of people who can come to America. However, we have always, I mean, as a nation, America has always taken in refugees in times of need. That's just part of who we are as a country. So part of the problem is that people keep taking the term refugee off and putting in illegal immigrant, which technically is true because they did not come in through the immigration system. However, America has a special clause for people who come in as a refugee and seek asylum. And so it's one of those, technically it's true, but really it's not, because really there's like a good portion of the people who are in America by that definition would be illegal immigrants. All in, like, probably 30% of us would be illegal immigrants, or at least 30% of the people who came over here because they came in under the refugee clause. So, and that's one of those things where people just misunderstand. They intentionally misunderstand something so that they can freak out the people to vote, right? They freak them out and get them to vote. And it's still absolutely legal. Everything about it is totally legal, and the way that America has always run, and we have done this since the beginning of time, and it's always been that way. And really, it's just fear-mongering. And we have the resources for it, and we have the ability to do it, and and so we should, but we don't, and it's just frustrating. I'm not sure I follow that one, Ray. I mean, yes. I mean, yes, there are definitely differences between military-age men and teenagers, but propaganda is propaganda. And I mean, like, you think about it, any way propaganda sort of becomes kind of a thing, right? Because I mean, like, you could always say, drink soda pop is propaganda. It's good for you. Yeah. Is it good for you? Probably not. So if they're sitting there, oh, drink soda pop, it's good for you. Yeah, it's probably not good for you, But yeah, that's definitely propaganda. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't know. Difficult to say. Difficult to say. It's interesting because this grid does not work that I was working on here. I'm like, the grid doesn't work. And then I was like, leave it to the system to make it so that we stand no chance of ever getting these things correct. So, you're not wrong. And I mean, a lot of propaganda is harmless or relatively harmless. Like, if I were to say, you know, Italy is a great place to visit, that's relatively harmless propaganda. You know, Japan's a good place to visit. It's relatively harmless. There's nothing, all that really does is just encourage people to go visit Italy or Japan. But if you do use the propaganda of saying, well, Japan is all ABC or whatever, whatever, that I'm just making up stuff, but the Japanese people hate water, whatever, that's not necessarily positive propaganda, and that's not good. So clearly you don't want something like that, And I mean, you gotta maybe. I mean, when you talk about it from a cultural standpoint, I don't know. I tend to use the word propaganda to indicate something that either has a distorted like a distorted logic fallacy in it, or is not accurate in facts, right? Like saying that we have an immigration problem, that's not necessarily a truth, but it's not also wrong. It's pretty accurate if you say that way. But also, we're dealing with 10,000 people. 10,000 people in a country of 300 million is nothing. We wouldn't even notice it. Propaganda? Probably, I would say that propaganda became a bad word in the 1960s, 1950s and 1960s, would be my guess. Because propaganda was used heavily in World War II, but didn't seem to be vilified. However, after World War II, it seems like people got very upset about it at that point. So my thought would be the 1950s, maybe? Because in the 1950s, both America and the Soviet Union were using propaganda against their own people. And that's when that started. I mean, we've always used propaganda against our own people, or for the usage of our own people, or to our own people. I'm not, but in this case, I think that the biggest problem was that people found out that we were using propaganda on our people to get them to vote a certain way, or to get them to behave a certain way that was beneficial to only a small handful of people. Well, terrorist by default has no positive meaning. There's no positive to terrorist. You have to change the word to make it a positive thing. So, I mean, like culturally, that word doesn't have a positive connotation. There's never been a positive for terrorist. And this is only if you're going to talk linguistically. So if you're talking about just the language piece and not the actual meaning behind it, if you're just talking about the language piece, there is no positive to terrorist. Because a terrorist is someone who terrorizes, whose intention is to scare people into doing what the person wants them to do. That's the point of it. So the word terrorist literally means you are trying to force people to do your will by scaring them or terrifying them or anything of that sort. There's no positive to that. However, that individual could, the cultural person without the name could also be called a freedom fighter. And both of them operate the same way. And usually that name changes depending on which side of the battle you're on. So the person could be either or, the individual, but the term, the word, terrorist? No, because we've had terrorists forever. The word itself. Because I think the first time I ran into that term myself was in reference to Irish IRA. Yeah. But that's the question. Are you talking about the word terrorist, or are you talking about the person who straps explosives to themselves and blows themselves up? That's two different things. The word terrorist has been around for a long time, depending on where you are. And it's not a positive word. And it never has been. I mean, its base word is terror, to scare or to make somebody, force somebody to do something by fear. So by base, the base word is that. But a suicide bomber is either a terrorist or a freedom fighter, depending on which side you're on. Because the Russian anarchist groups have had both. That name applied both sides. Irish IRA has had that name applied to both sides. Or had both sides applied to that person, both names. That's another one of those very weird and if I say interesting, I hope you understand that I mean that I'm interested in that. Yeah. You mean some of them call themselves terrorists openly? That I think that's still fine. Well, you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I guess that's not fair to say it's fine or not fine. You can call yourself anything you want. Um, there is a propensity for people to want to be scary. Like, especially when people are scared. When people are scared, people want to be known as scary. So you have a thing where you have people who they want to be seen as threatening and scary so that hopefully that will get rid of their fear. But it doesn't. It's just the way people feel. So people feel, right? Well, it's why people will call themselves terrorists, right? Because they want to be scary. But that's why they do that. It's a for better or for worse thing. I don't know. Have no idea why people think that's a thing that they should do, but it is a thing that people feel like they should do. You lost the plot. That's all right. Also, I think sometimes when I talk, it is it's difficult because I'm not always like taking a side. I'm just observing. So um so for example, if I were to talk about this situation, I'm just observing. So I don't have any, I'm not, it's not something that upsets me or I'm not taking a side. Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm not sure it has ever been something good. When was it ever good? Maybe. Mhm. Usually, though, when somebody who does, so I'm about to go off onto another one of those um, weird side stories. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What if I don't? Um. Okay. I'm curious about what you're saying because that sounds interesting to me. Don't do this. I'm doing a thing. I shouldn't be doing this thing. Here, let me switch back. You can watch me draw for a few more minutes. 1, 2. So this square was not square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go sit here and say Control E, 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 which makes just this. And then I'm going to duplicate this and then do that. And I'll duplicate it. 2, 4, 6. Duplicate it. 8. Duplicate it. 10. So now we have a 10 by 10. You know, doesn't bother me. Right, now I have a 10 by 10 grid at 1 pixel by 1 pixel, which will tell me, once I duplicate this, because I don't want to risk losing this, this will tell me what's going on with this square. Right, because if I increase it, the square is correct. That doesn't help me any. Your specialty. So I know that just, you're like, but that's fuzzy and it doesn't make any sense. It's fine. I'm just going to go on ahead now on this next level, and I'm going to take this square here, and all I'm going to do is just draw here to here, right? And then here to here. The problem is these deck plans have to, dang it, these deck plans have to be accurate, or else what we build in Blender won't work correctly. And that would be irritating, right? So now that we have that, we've got this guy. So we can duplicate that layer and go like so. And already I see the problem, right? We're starting to already move out of the substance. Oof. I don't know, man. Body horror and I don't get along necessarily. I shouldn't say that. That makes it sound like I don't care for it. Or that I'm scared of it. I'm really not. It's just not my thing. I prefer to live in the world of Star Trek, so space is more my thing, which is fine. Everybody has their thing. Okay, now we got these guys, and already I can see that we've got an issue with that, so that works. We'll move this and do that, and now we have 10 across. It's useful. And then we can duplicate that guy and go 10 down. And I think part of it might be, well, I don't actually know. Right? And we just duplicate this guy. And now we have a square. Make sure that they line up. They do. And that's part of our problem. So that's a very interesting discussion topic too, because it isn't something that people like to deal with, you know? Dang it. Ooh, I could see that. See, that's what I wanted, was that. I did not get that. Gotta have that motorcycle. What would we do without our very loud motorcycle? Imagine what would happen if we did not have our very loud motorcycle. At 11 o'clock at night, too. Why are these not? I could see that bothering people, though. Okay, so... Right. So talk to me here. Why are we having a problem with this? We shouldn't be having a problem with this. And here we are. Oof. I mean, Taxi, the TV show from America in French? Or is this just a different TV show in French? No, okay. Still sounds like fun. But I'm pretty sure you are aware of my love of vehicles and stuff like that. So you probably already know that I'll be on board with anything that involves cars. Cars, boats, planes, spaceships. I'm into all of these things. You've been on my show long enough to know that. I'm just like, ooh, cars. I'm in. I mean, I would even say a Citroen wouldn't be bad. Just saying. Just saying. I might be okay with a Citroen. Who knows? Actually, Citroen made that beautiful. There was I mean, it is classic. Their little classic Citroen that they had for a long time that was actually rather. I mean, the quality of the vehicle is probably questionable, but I still like it, you know. And Fast and Furious wasn't a bad series either. I mean, I kind of dug Fast and Furious. All right, in just a few minutes here, I'm going to go on ahead and call it for the night. Once I sort of finish this grid that I went and fixed. It's very important if you're going to have a 1 meter by 1 meter grid that permeates your entire spaceship, that your grid actually isn't weird shaped. That's apparently what was going on here. It depends. For the most part, the foreign films that I get generally are from Japan. But that's mostly because I speak Japanese, so that helps a whole lot, you know. I do watch a lot of K-dramas from time to time because they're ridiculously addictive, and I think that's cruel and unusual punishment, but just me. K-dramas are brutal. But yeah, I mean, there's one or two French movies I've seen over the years, but for the most part, it's for me, it's usually just Japanese, and that's by choice. There are a lot of movies here. I mean, you can get all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it has to do with the culture you're comfortable with, you know, because you don't have to do a lot of translation in your head. Because cultures have their own structure, obviously. They have their own sort of like nonverbal communication and things like that. And so it's hard to read people from other countries sometimes because you're not sure what they're trying to say. I mean, I have heard rumor that Russians don't trust you if you smile because apparently in Russian culture that causes that seems distrustful. Whereas in American culture, if you don't smile, people feel like you're not trustworthy. Yeah, it makes you feel more untrustworthy. So that, as a good example, There we go. I mean, even if that is not true, that is an example of, what you'd have with cultural translation back and forth between cultures. A good example, because I can't really speak to Russian culture that much. I don't know much about Russian culture, but I can speak to Japanese culture. And, in American culture, we hug a lot. We hug each other a lot. You never do that to Japanese people. That makes them remarkably uncomfortable, right? Don't hug Japanese people. They'd be like, what are you doing? Why? You know, they'd be very uncomfortable. And so, there we go. There. That is exactly correct. This is a shaft. It's a zero gravity shaft. Russians? Yeah, but makes them kind of annoying. I gotta say, there are a lot of people out there like that. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Every time I have met Russians, you're right. They laugh a lot. There's a lot of laughing. So, but I've heard that anecdote about them. And, even if it's true, not true, whatever, that anecdote has valid points on that. See, should be 2 meters by 2 meters in this hallway. Most of that subculture, there's an Asian subculture, Southeast Asian subculture that is there that follows a similar, I want to say, cultural set of rules. And one of those cultural rules is the internal person versus the external person. So what's going on inside is completely different from what you show the world. And so often I find that to be true. That's true of Japanese as well, and certain parts of China. But that culture belief system transitions in China to a different cultural transitions, or to a different culture. So you've got two different culture groups there. And some believe in that and some don't. And it's just it's kind of like North and South in the United States. We've got a few culture shifts that happen between the South and the North here. What's really interesting about cultural anthropology is that culture often there are certain cultures that stay with your country, and then there are certain cultures that don't. They just kind of bleed outside of the country. They just leave. And they're usually older cultural traditions. So, like, you'll see chopstick usage is a good sign of what part of Southeast Asia you're in. Like, how they hold the chopsticks and use the chopsticks and rituals around chopsticks very much differentiate depending on what part of Asia you're in. And I find that to be interesting as well. Always fascinating. Always fascinating. Everything's fascinating. Yeah. Inner and Outer Mongolia is another area of real interesting, a lot of interesting stuff there. Better watch it, Ray. I'll head over to your place and I'll be in your living room doing cultural work from your living room. You'd be like, why are you here? Who invited you? Mm. But culture is always fascinating to me. Always fascinating. Another thing that's really, yeah, another thing that's really interesting is things like bows, bows and arrows, because the the Asian draw on a bow very much comes from Mongolian culture direct, as opposed to the Western culture of drawing a bow, which is completely different. And I find that interesting too. Right? And probably, by the way, Inner and Outer Mongolia is very similar to Britain and US. You know, you get to a point where you're like, we're speaking the same language, but I have no earthly idea what you're saying. I do not understand anything. It's, I think, if anything, the most interesting thing about becoming a cultural anthropologist is that I have learned, or I have, it's not a matter of getting rid of bias, because you're always going to be biased. It's a matter of seeing everybody as equal and the cultures as aspects. You know, like it's no different than what color car you chose to buy. You know what I mean? You don't judge somebody because they, I mean, I'm sure somebody does, but the average person doesn't judge somebody for buying a red car versus a black car. Probably. Odds are good. It depends on how close. Honestly, Ray, a lot of people use English words. We are like a weed. Americans are like weeds, and our language is like a weed. It just grows. Our language keeps going everywhere because it's a weed. I would love to come to Mongolia someday, though. It's a very lovely area. So, I got a question for you. Are the Inner Mongolians like the Parisians, where they're very protective of their language and they're very protective of their culture? You know, like France is notorious for banishing words. You know, you can't pick up a word in French, and you know, so because there's like a committee that literally wipes out words So if you invent a new word in French that was an English word, they'll eject it. And they'll make up a French word instead, so you use the French word. Is Inner Mongolia the same way? They're just protecting the culture so much that it's very super strict. And you're like, I don't know. We don't know why. Inner Mongolia is just that way. I don't know. All of these things, just like it's just bits of culture. And you're like, why do they do that? I don't know. Nobody knows. People just do. Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. Mongolian script's kind of pretty. Just saying. But I'm biased, and I know I'm biased. Hola. They use Mongolian script as their official language, huh? Oh, my Spanish is bad. I mean, I can read it, but you don't want me speaking it. I just mangle it. Ooh, dear ants. でも私の日本語ちょっと結構なりたいね。My Japanese isn't so bad. In theory. Right? You do live in an interesting confluence. Mongolia is such an interesting confluence. There's so many cultures around you that divide culturally, like ancient cultures going back thousands and thousands of years on either side of that area. And so it is interesting always what pieces of those cultures, specifically Mongolia, uses. I'm always interested by that. Because you've got, Russia, and you've got right? You're not wrong. You're not wrong, Dina. It's interesting because just like we were talking about other things, Latin is supposed to be a dead language, but so many people speak it. For a dead language, it's well spoken. My Latin's pretty bad too. So, Dina, I'm a scholar, and so I study them, but I don't speak them very well. I've got a couple of languages that I speak, but they're not. I don't have anything. So, Dina, where are you from? Where are you calling from? Where are you connecting from? Connecting. I like that word. Where are you connecting from? Why do you say that, Ray? Oh, well, thank you. I we actually have an expert because Ray is in Mongolia. So that's why we're talking about Mongolia, is because my area of expertise. Oh, yeah. My area of expertise is Southeast Asia. So I'm not, well, I mean, I guess that's fair. That's kind of where I am too. Um, but my area of expertise is Southeast Asia, below, which is farther south than Mongolia. So I like talking about it because when we talk about Mongolia, Ray knows all about Mongolia. Ray lives there. So we get to discuss an area that's not in my expertise. So I like learning about it, you know. It's because Kazakh is that's totally fine. That is absolutely okay. I don't have any problem with that at all. I like to find out where people are connecting from because it's fun to think about all the places in the world, you know, where you could be. But it is absolutely okay for you to not tell me. Yes, I know. And that's why I said I'm also connecting from Mikasa. I mean, right? And Mikasa is Sukasa. Just saying. Welcome to my home. So, yeah, and I'm only going to stay on for a few more minutes because we are past the end of this stream's time. However, I did manage to finish my grid work. I've got to admit, though, I have been looking in. Yeah, I've got the grid work in here, and that looks really nice, and it worked really well, and everything is clean. That helps. It's because that's where that culture is from. So I actually have a buddy who is from Kazakhstan, and her Russian is wild because it's very regional. Yeah, I like the grid. It looks nice on there. But Tartar is such a. I'm interested in that language somewhere down the road too. There's a lot of history behind the Tartars. There's a lot of history there. Really interesting history. So I'm always interested in that. I'm interested in Kazakhstan too. All of that's, but it's not, you know, it's one of those things that there's only so much time that somebody has in their life And so you can't study everything. You can try, and I can try to study as much as I can, but I'm going to run out of days at some point. Hmm. Okay, see that. See, you found it. You found me out, Ray. You found. I'm not going to lie. Part of the reason that I want to go to Kazakhstan is because of Star City. I admit it. I admit it openly. You found me out. I am somewhat predictable, though, to be fair. All right. I think it is now 11:52. It's coming up on midnight. And so I'm going to go ahead and shut everything down because tomorrow I am about to go pick up my child. And my child starts 2 weeks here. Because right now my child is with their mom. So see you later, Ray. It was good to have you here. I really enjoyed talking to you, by the way. So I'm glad you came to visit tonight. And Dina, I'm sorry that I won't be able to talk to you much. Would love to talk to you more. So feel free to join us again, although I won't be on again until Sunday because I'm only on weeknights. So I will see you on Sunday at this time. But either way, have a good weekend, everybody. And it was good to talk to you. I don't even know if we still have, like, we had Yap, but I think we lost Yap a long time ago. Hope Yap's gone on, and I mean, we did have Jan here for a little while, and Micah was here for a bit and stuff. That was cool. So either way, I'm glad to have seen all of you guys. I'm glad you guys all joined me tonight. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and a good day. And as always, please keep your eyes on the stars. Good night.